All right, today we're diving into a huge idea from Jim Collins' classic Good to Great, what he calls the architecture of discipline. And get ready, because this is one of those concepts that might just flip everything you think you know about high-performing companies right on its head.
So let's just jump right in. When I say the word discipline in a workplace, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably more rules, right? More checklists, more oversight, more bureaucracy. For most of us, that's what it means. But what if I told you that's not just a little bit wrong, but the complete opposite of the truth? And there it is. That's the big paradox we're going to unpack today. See, Collins' research shows that the most disciplined organizations on the planet don't need all those layers of control. Actually, it's the other way around. Real, genuine discipline is what creates freedom, what creates autonomy, and what creates speed.
Okay, so to really get this, we've got to draw a really clear line in the sand between two things that can look similar from a distance: discipline and tyranny. How they work and the results they get, well, they're worlds apart.
Just look at this contrast. In a true culture of discipline, people manage themselves. The drive, the standards, it's all internal. You don't need a manager breathing down their neck. Tyranny, on the other hand, is all about external control. It's about forcing people to comply. But that obedience only lasts as long as the boss is watching. One of these builds real ownership, and the other, it just builds resentment. This quote from Collins absolutely nails it. He argues that a company drowning in red tape and rulebooks isn't disciplined at all. No, that's a company trying to manage its way around a lack of discipline. All those rules, they're not the cure. They're the symptom of a much, much deeper problem.
So how in the world do you build a culture like this? Well, it all starts with the first of three pillars. You need disciplined people. And here's the absolute key. You can't create discipline in people who don't already have it. You have to hire for it. It all starts with who you let on the bus in the first place.
I mean, think about the very best people you've ever had the chance to work with. They're the ones you never had to chase, right? They just took ownership. They had this deep internal sense of responsibility, and they held themselves to a way higher standard than you ever could. That is the foundation. Without those people, none of the rest of this is even possible.
And this is just such a powerful and kind of brutal truth. You can forget about all those values written on the conference room wall. Your real culture is defined by the worst behavior you're willing to put up with. If you tolerate people who don't take ownership, who consistently underperform, you will never, ever build a culture of discipline. It's really as simple as that. Okay, so on to our second pillar, disciplined thought. Once you have the right people on the bus, you've got to focus all that amazing energy. This isn't about being brilliant, it's about being incredibly focused. It's about having the guts to confront the brutal facts and the discipline to stay inside what Collins calls your hedgehog concept. You know, that perfect sweet spot where what you're deeply passionate about, what you can be the best in the world at, and what drives your economic engine all intersect.
Now, we all know about to-do lists. They're everywhere. And they're almost always about adding more, doing more, launching more. But it turns out that great companies have a secret weapon for maintaining focus, and it's way more powerful. And there it is, the stop doing list. Honestly, this might be one of the most practical and powerful ideas in the whole book. It's the very conscious, very disciplined decision to just cut activities that drain your time, your focus, and your energy, even if they seemed like pretty good ideas at the time.
The logic here is so simple, but it's incredibly hard to do in practice. If something doesn't line up with your core mission, your hedgehog, it's gotta go. If it's a vanity project that just makes you look good but doesn't actually move the needle, you have to question it. If it's just a nice-to-have that's diluting your efforts, it needs to be challenged. Because without a stop-doing list, you don't really have a strategy, do you? You just have a bunch of stuff you're doing.
And that brings us to our third and final pillar, disciplined action. So you've got the right people, you've got the right focus. Now it's all about execution. And here's the thing. The key isn't some huge, heroic, one-time effort. It's all about a relentless, almost boring consistency. It's about showing up every single day and just pushing that giant flywheel, turn by turn by turn.
You know, so many companies are paying what you might call the inconsistency tax. And you've seen this, right? Think about it. Every time a new big initiative is launched with a huge splash, only to be totally forgotten a few months later, you're paying a tax. A tax on your team's morale, on leadership's credibility, and on all that wasted effort. It's this massive hidden cost that just drains the life out of an organization.
This table just lays it out so perfectly.
Good organizations, they work in these frantic bursts of intensity. They're always starting, switching, relaunching. But great organizations, they have a relentless rhythm. They commit, they execute, they refine, and then they do it again. And it's that consistency that creates these incredible compounding results over time. It's like a great investment that just grows and grows because you never stop contributing to it.
Okay, so let's bring this all home. We started with that weird paradox. Discipline equals freedom. And now we can really see how all the pieces fit together. When you have disciplined people, guided by disciplined thought, who take disciplined action, you build a system that practically runs itself. You don't need a giant rulebook because you've got self-disciplined people. You don't need to micromanage because everyone is aligned with disciplined thought, and that is what creates the freedom for people to truly excel.
Now, let's make this super relevant to right now. Because in the age of AI, we literally have an infinite supply of ideas, of content, of new strategies. It has never been cheaper or faster to come up with possibilities. So the problem is no longer a lack of things we could do.
And in a world where ideas are basically free and infinite, the real game changer, the priceless asset, is execution. The ability to choose the right path and then stick to it with relentless consistency, that's everything.
This right here is probably the most important takeaway for any leader today. AI is a massive amplifier. If you have a disciplined organization, AI will amplify your focus and it will accelerate your progress like crazy. But if you have a chaotic, undisciplined organization, it will just amplify the chaos. It will create more noise, more distractions, and more wasted effort than you can possibly imagine.
So the new competitive advantage, it's not about having the most ideas. It's not having the discernment to pick the right one. It's not having the focus to stick with it, and it's about having the disciplined execution to see it all the way through consistently. These are human skills that technology can't replace. It can only make them more valuable.
Which leaves us with one final and really powerful question to take back to your team. The most disciplined question you can ask today isn't what new thing should we start doing. No, it's what should we stop doing right now? Answering that one question honestly, well, that's the first real step to building a culture of discipline.